Hello, and welcome back to Crypto Simulation Theory. I am the Gaussian Snake, and today I'm going to talk to you about altcoin accumulation, how to select altcoins, and what to look for with Total 3 and other indicators to know if altcoin season is coming and when it's going to be here. In the meantime, just a reminder, nothing in this channel is intended to be considered financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. And while you're at it, be sure to like and subscribe to my channel and join my free Telegram group, the Snack Pit, for daily chart updates, technical analysis, and a supportive community of traders just like you. According to the Altcoin Season Index, we are not in altcoin season. In fact, if you look at the history of altcoin seasons, there have been quite a few, but they tend to be spaced apart by quite some time. We did have an altcoin season towards the end of last year that extended into early January, but that's since fallen off. In fact, you can't see it right here. Maybe if I scoot it over, we actually had a wick down into Bitcoin season fairly recently, and it looks like we're trending down that way again. So I think that just looking at this chart can tell you that altcoin season still has a little bit of a ways to go, but obviously this chart will only tell us part of the picture. It would be nice to see when might we have a chance of getting up into this region like we've done every single cycle that we've been tracking altcoins. When might that happen again? So this is the total 3 minus stable coins. I've excluded Tether, USDC, and DAI, which are 3 major stable coins divided by Bitcoin, to give you an idea of the strength of the altcoin market against Bitcoin, which is really what matters, right? Because why hold an altcoin if Bitcoin's just going to outperform it anyways? And you can look at the past history of this and see what's happened. Now, we did have a bear market for altcoins start after a triple top, which is quite a bearish signal. In January of 2022, floor fell out, and we had a little bit of a bounce onto the red Gaussian median line, but floor completely fell out, and we had a massive altcoin reckoning in July of 2023. And altcoins really haven't moved a whole lot since then. They've kind of been in this rising wedge pattern, and they've recently hit resistance once again at the Gaussian channel median line. Now the difference is when we hit it the first time, it was concave down, which is a sign of weakness. We're hitting it this time, it's concave up, which is a sign of strength. And we're seeing some chopping happening around the weighted Bollinger Band median line. And what this chopping tells me, if we zoom in on it, is that we are very likely in an altcoin accumulation season, where we're just seeing altcoins chop around against their Bitcoin valuations. Now, clearly Bitcoin has been in control this entire time. Now, I do want to point out to you that we did have a golden cross on the whole moving averages between the 50 and the 100, which are some pretty key whole moving averages, as I've discovered myself. This happened on October 30th. And ever since then, the 50-week HMA has been above the 100-week HMA. Now, granted, we did wick down below the 100-week HMA, but it was just a wick, and we've been holding it as support ever since. So what I'd like to see here is I'd like to see some follow through with the 50-week HMA to make me think that this can continue to stay bullish. I wouldn't worry too much if we do get a death cross. It could happen. We could get another death cross, but I imagine it wouldn't be very long lived. Another whole moving average that would be interesting to look at would be the 200-week whole moving average. Let's take a look at that one. Okay, so this is a real key moving average that we have pretty much held as resistance this entire time. We did kind of get out above it in December and unfortunately fell below it again. No, actually we haven't fell below it. No, we're actually holding it as support, so this is a good thing. So we've actually been holding the 200 whole moving average as support, and it looks like it's starting to curl back around. So what we want to see is a golden cross of the 100 with the 200. That would be a very encouraging sign. It looks like it's going to happen. It does look like it's going to happen in May if this trend keeps holding up like this. So again, this is looking like an accumulation range. It's not looking bearish, it's just looking like an accumulation range. And it's nice to see this triple bottom confirmation at this level down here. So, so far so good. Now the only bad news is that the Gunnar EMA did just print a bearish cross. You can see right here. We had a bullish cross over here and now a bearish cross right here. So that is not something that we like to see. That could potentially point to continued downside of altcoins against Bitcoin, but I don't know how far down they'll need to go. That's really hard to say. Again, even if they do drop, which if Bitcoin drops, altcoins against Bitcoin are going to drop most likely, we could see this run down a little bit further. I don't know if it would take out these lows. from July of 2023. That's a big question mark. Really not sure. You could look at this double top pattern and say it's kind of bearish. You would not be wrong, and that maybe we have to test these lows yet again. But if you've been picking up altcoins in this region, I still think that they probably offer relatively good value long term. So if we were to throw on some fibs and look at the VRVP for total 3 minus stables divided by Bitcoin, we can see that we are in an area of massive support right here at the 0.5 fib. Sure, we've wicked below it, even gone slightly below it, but there's a lot of support in this region. So I think even if we were to go lower, I would not anticipate that we go lower than the 618 fib. That would be worst case scenario. I think there's a fairly decent chance we hold up at these levels and actually rocket off from here. And maybe in worst case, we dip down here, but this is a lot of volume support. So, and I'm imagining we're going to probably hit some resistance too on the way up around this area. So, altcoins do have a lot left to prove against Bitcoin, especially in a high interest rate environment with potential stagflation starting to take place. But I think there's a good chance that this could serve once again as a nice long-term accumulation zone for altcoins against Bitcoin. In terms of the moving averages, the pink moving average here is the 10-week SMA. The light blue is the 40-week SMA. We can see that the 10-week has gotten above the 40-week for the first time in quite a while. That happened in January and has moved down since. However, it is trending down, and we are currently trending below the 40-week SMA. So that is not a great thing. It does point to more potential weakness coming for total 3 and minus stables divided by Bitcoin. Again, I think any weakness that comes will likely be relatively short term, a couple months at most, before we start to see things turn around. I'm not convinced, I'm not 100% convinced that this area here is the low. I do think there's a chance we could take that low out, but even if we did, I don't think it would be like a substantial drop, right? There's horizontal support right over here in this region. So if I were to try to draw that out, and I would just put a rectangle like right here, right? Something kind of like in here. We've already been wicking down to that region. So again, I remember where I said the 618 fib was, so I don't really think we're going to go much lower if we go lower at all. Obviously this is not a great sign though with the SMA is doing what they're doing. Okay, looking at logarithmic regression, long-term log regression, I've only gone in increments of 1 this time instead of increments of a half. I didn't really feel like it was necessary to do increments of a half. But you can see the log regression has been pretty clean. We went all the way down to -3 in December of 2020, and the highest we've gotten on here is the +2 log line, which we tapped nearly 3 times in 2021, May, October, and January 2022. Then we tapped the median line for the first time since 2021. This was in June of 2022. We sliced through it in March of 23, and we have pretty much triple bottomed. We just keep testing this -1 log regression line. I'm not convinced, like I said, that it will hold. So far it has. It may have to come down and test it another time, but testing it this many times does lead me to believe that further downside is plausible, and maybe we do get down to like the half, or something like that. I don't think we're going to go down to the -3. Let me be clear about that. So just looking at it this way, it does look like more downside action is definitely a possibility. So if you look on the weekly momentum indicator, you can see that we've been putting in a series of lower highs and lower lows for some time, but things did begin to turn around starting in around that May of 2023 time frame, a few months before we saw a massive drop in altcoins. And so it looks like we're kind of in this triangle for now, and I apologize for the black box. I can't really do much about that. But if I extend this out, just ignore the black box, it looks like we're working our way up to some kind of move. Now, I don't know if this is going to come down and test this trend line or it's going to go lower. This is a trend line just based on 2 data points, so we'll just have to see. But, this has been in a period of weakness for quite some time. So I am thinking that we are building towards a change in trend here, which is, again, another reason why I'm calling this an accumulation zone. Okay, so now that we've done a pretty thorough overview of the altcoin market against Bitcoin, how do we know which altcoins we should buy using Bitcoin or US dollars? With Bitcoin, you probably want to wait until you're confident that Bitcoin dominance, the metric that measures how much market share Bitcoin takes up relative to the total crypto market cap, you probably want to wait until you're pretty confident that that's topped out or is close to topping out before you get aggressive with converting your Bitcoin to altcoins. And I think it's always a good idea to keep some Bitcoin around, because Bitcoin most likely will have another parabolic rally later, which will come on the backs of a lot of people converting altcoin profits to Bitcoin to compound their gains. So I don't think it's necessary to get rid of all your Bitcoin, but you may want to set aside some of it. It could be a very small percentage, or it could be a large percentage depending on how much risk you want to take. And if you have US dollars or stable coins sitting on the side, you can also use the same principles that I'm going to teach you here on how to decide which altcoins are good buys. So we have two kinds of categories of altcoins to consider. We have the older coins that are known in the crypto space as dino coins. They have less risk to them because they've been around for multiple cycles, even if that's just one cycle before this. But they also come with less reward because most of their gains were extracted during their first run. And then we have newer altcoins which carry a higher risk and reward with them. They're harder to analyze against their Bitcoin pairs, although we do have a metric we can use to gauge how well they're doing against Bitcoin. But the potential reward out of newer altcoins is much higher. So older dino coins tend to be less volatile than the newer altcoins, which can be highly volatile and go up and down very rapidly. So let me talk about some of the older coins and how to figure out which of those makes sense to hold in your portfolio. So for this exercise, I'm not going to care about the USD valuation so much. What I'm going to care about is the Bitcoin valuation and the Ethereum valuations, because as I said earlier, if an altcoin can't outperform the less risky Bitcoin and Ethereum, why would you bother holding it? So I'm going to pull up an example of an altcoin that has done really well against Bitcoin and Ethereum this cycle, and that's Solana. So we're going to look at Sol Bitcoin. So in my symbol search, I just type SOLBTC. Go ahead and hit enter on that. And you can see just how amazingly Solana has performed against Bitcoin. This is what you want to see. You want to see stuff like this over here. So let's pull up some indicators. Sol Bitcoin looks great. Now, of course, it being an older coin, you're not going to see it do something like this during this cycle. But it has been holding its weight against Bitcoin since June of 2023, so for almost a full year. It is going sideways right now and looks like it's rolling over a little bit. But the Gaussian channel is green and concave up and tight, so I anticipate that Solana will continue to do well against Bitcoin and possibly even put in a new all-time high against Bitcoin, which currently sits around 0.0047295 Bitcoin. So yeah, let's see how that goes. But this is an example of a coin that you could feel pretty confident in converting some Bitcoin to, and Ethereum, or converting Bitcoin to, especially because it has been outperforming Bitcoin thus far. Let's take a look at Sol ETH. So to do that, we would just go to indicators, type Sol ETH. Not all coins have ETH pairs, so this is an example where we can't find one, so we have to create one. So what we would do is just go Solana, and then put, or actually you could do Sol USD, or we'll do Solana, and then do /ETH, or Ethereum. Okay, having some issues here. Oh, I know why, because I'm in the indicators, metrics, and strategies. My bad. So we need to go over to here, and then type Sol ETH. So you may have caught me doing that by mistake. No worries. There we go. There's Sol ETH. And we can see that Sol actually put in a new high against ETH. It looks like it, or at the very least, may have tapped that high. Okay, it hasn't put in a new high, but it sure came close. There's a very good chance that we see Solana take out its previous high against Ethereum. So again, this is an example of a project that has held up really strong. It's at 0.043 ETH right now against Ethereum. Yes, there will be moments when Ethereum is going to outperform it, but this is a good example of a coin that you can say has a really great possibility of outperforming Ethereum and Bitcoin, and therefore it would make a lot of sense to hold. And for the record, I do not hold Solana. Okay, this is Cardano, and this is an example of a coin that has proven itself as an oscillator during the last cycle, but most coins are not going to be able to outperform Bitcoin and Ethereum. One thing that's a little concerning about Cardano is that it's actually broken this trend line going all the way back to 2017 against Bitcoin. It finds itself at pretty low valuations. It has not outperformed Bitcoin during this latest bull run. And, so if you like Cardano, you could say, well, maybe things will turn around here, but the weighted Bollinger Bands are spilling out to the downside. So this would be an example of a coin where you could invest some in it with the idea that maybe it will oscillate back at some point and head back up into this region. Cardano is a strong project in terms of the community, and they have been making some developments in their product, but overall there's a lot of FUD out there about Cardano, and some of it is deserved, some of it may not be. The Gaussian channel on the weekly is a little hard to read. It is looking like it's inflected, but then we're spilling out, so it's going to probably cause it to go down again. If we look on a 2-week time frame with Cardano, it just also doesn't look very good. So the 2-week Gaussian hasn't even inflected yet. Now we might see it inflect soon, and then maybe things go green, and we put in like a slightly lower high, or maybe retest the highs. We can see where those are at. If I don't count this wick, you could say that in the last cycle we got really close. Could that happen again? Sure. So this is one that you probably would want to take a very measured risk on and do a dynamic DCA just in case Cardano ends up bleeding out. And for the record, I do not hold Cardano. And even more concerning is Cardano versus Ethereum, which to me looks like a clear bleeder. This is what a bleeder looks like. And it's like, okay, well, why would I hold Cardano if it can't even outperform Ethereum? So it has to outperform both, really, to justify holding it, in my opinion. So if you believe that Cardano is going to maybe double bottom down here and turn around, great. I don't have a lot of faith in this project, to be honest with you. So I would probably stay away personally. It does check the box of being able to possibly outperform Bitcoin, but it's not checking the box against Ethereum. As much respect as I have for Algorand, it is not outperforming Bitcoin. It has just been a bleeder. The only time it ever really reliably outperformed it was in late 2021, and it's just been hemorrhaging ever since. And, when you see a project like this that is down like 95.5% off of its Bitcoin highs, personally, I just write it off. I wouldn't put it in my portfolio. I wouldn't touch this thing with a 10-foot pole, no matter what it's doing. Even if Algorand does start to trend up, there's probably no way it gets anywhere even close to this high. And I would imagine Algo ETH looks probably, just as bad, if not worse. Yeah, look at Algo ETH. It's just nothing but blood. So it's kind of a myth to think that the older altcoins are the safer plays. Certainly if you are investing in Algorand or even Cardano, you're taking on a lot of risk with very little potential for reward. You might as well hold Bitcoin or Ethereum. I don't hold Algorand. I held it for a brief amount of time in the last cycle and got rid of it. So that's basically what you want to look at in terms of choosing older Dino coins. Now with the newer projects, you're not going to find them having Bitcoin and ETH charts. You can certainly create your own, but not all TradingView plans allow you to do that, especially depending on the time frame that you want to use. So I want to show you an indicator that you can use with newer projects to assess their relative strength against Bitcoin and Ethereum. So here's a newer project called AIOZ, and I want to talk about how you can tell if this would be a good project to get into and why. So if you were to type in AIOZ BTC or AIOZ ETH, there's no guarantee that that trading pair would be available. It could be, but just saying there's no guarantee that it is. So what we would need to do if it were not available is we go to our indicators, and there's actually an indicator called the Mansfield Relative Strength Indicator. Go ahead and click on that, and this is going to give you the pair strength against whatever asset you choose it to get. So let's double click on this indicator, my bad. I need to get into the settings of it. So let me see, yeah, right there. Okay, so right click settings, and you can see that it's going to give me, where is it? Okay, this is not giving me what I want it to give. Yeah, I just double clicked on it again, and I don't know, it worked this time. So I double clicked on the line. So you can see it says index, and the index you want to choose is Bitcoin. So if you wanted to compare this against Ethereum, you would just change this, and you could type in ETH USD, for instance. and we could use the index. That would be what I want to use. And so we go here, ETH USD. Again, I'm going to use the index if it's available. The all-time history index, ETH USD, all-time history index. And you can see this is the pair's relative strength against Ethereum. And so, you know, in conclusion, AIOZ has been performing very well against Bitcoin and Ethereum. And so from a risk-reward standpoint, if you believe that AIOZ has more upside potential, and I certainly believe that it does, although I do not hold it, I know people who do, then I think it's reasonable to consider DCAing into something like this while there's relative price weakness in the market. Okay, and then this is an example of multi-bit or MUBI against USDT, and then down here we have the Mansfield RSI indicator, and we're comparing it to Bitcoin, and I don't even need to compare it to Ethereum. This thing has not been doing well against Bitcoin, so from a risk management point of view, there's much better plays out there than multi-bit, and I do not currently own multi-bit. All right, so there you have it. This is how you can tell what to look for when considering an altcoin, at least as far as its pair strength is concerned. Of course, I would encourage you to also check out its tokenomics, fundamentals, pumpamentals, and things like that. I have video on my channel in my risk management series. Actually, it's not in my risk management series. It might be. But look back on my channel. I have a video about talking about pumpamentals in an altcoin market. But nonetheless, even with pumpamentals, you need to make sure that you believe that your coin can outperform Bitcoin and Ethereum at the very least, because taking on altcoin risk, whether it's a large cap altcoin, a mid cap, small cap, or even a micro cap or a nano cap, which is the smallest you could even have, you need to ask yourself, can this reliably outperform Bitcoin and Ethereum? And if the answer is yes, then you can consider holding it. If the answer is no, then why do you hold it? Why hold multi-bit when you could hold AIOZ? So, and you know, taking on a similar risk, but one of them is more likely to give you a better reward. And I don't hold either one of these, so I have nothing to benefit or gain by telling you this. And then we also took a look at the altcoin market versus Bitcoin, and we came to the conclusion that we are in an accumulation range most likely, and you can have drops during accumulation ranges. In fact, I think a drop is quite likely, a total 3 versus Bitcoin. But that overall, within the next few months, I would anticipate we get a fairly nice altcoin season that could take us to higher levels on the altcoin season index than what we got at the end of last year, early this year. I'm confident that this could happen as early as late spring, early summer. That's kind of my target for when I would expect something like this to potentially begin. Something else we have to consider is Ethereum is still not bottomed against Bitcoin by all indications, so we have to also look at that. All right, well, thank you for joining me in another episode of Crypto Simulation Theory. I am the Gaussian Snake. Nothing in this video should be taken as financial advice. And I'd encourage you, for more discussion like this, more charts, more updates, join my free Telegram group. There's a link in the video description called the Snack Pit for daily chart updates, technical analysis, and a supportive community of traders just like you. So thanks again, and we'll see you here next time.